Dear Bante, as far as we know, we are supposed to consider the three characteristic um, that is impermanent, suffering, and not self. Could you kindly explain more on this and how do we consider these characters of the body and the mind? Thank you, Bante.
There are two ways how you can observe impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self. One is famous and one is not famous. One that is famous is called vipassana. In vipassana, you observe the present moment in the body, in the mind, and gradually you understand impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not self in the conceptual way. So you see that the body is getting old, that the mind is changing, that ideas are changing, that your knowledge, memories is changing. You may see that your feelings, pleasant feelings are arising and then they pass away. Unpleasant feelings arise and then they pass away. You can see how all of this body, whatever is there, whatever is pleasurable, can actually bring disease, illness, pain. And you can see that whatever the mind can do as good ideas, as pleasant experiences and so on, the mind can also bring unpleasant experience, unpleasant ideas, unpleasant things, wrong things. The mind can make mistakes. Sometimes it is right, then it is wrong. Likewise, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, sometimes is right, sometimes is wrong. So you can realize that it is unsatisfactory. And as you see that it is unsatisfactory, as the time goes, as you examine the body and the mind, you see that there is no power over the body and the mind in the ultimate sense. You see that everything that you can do as a control, as power, is actually dependent on that what you see, hear, smell, taste, touch, think. In other words, you are the slave of these six senses, of these six sense doors, and whatever you decide, you actually decide based on what these senses dictate to you. You would not decide, for example, to stand up if you were already standing. You would not decide to sit down if you were already sitting. You see, the senses dictated to you that you're sitting, that you do not need to sit down, and therefore you listen. The senses dictate to you that you're standing, therefore you listen. You don't do otherwise. You do only that what you are ordered. And therefore you may realize as you observe that through your mindfulness, you can see that there is no self. So these pieces of understanding, these chips of understanding, help you understand impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self, in the conceptual way. As you gradually continue in understanding impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self, in the conceptual way, you can come to the level where you sharpen your mindfulness. You sharpen your mindfulness to such an extent that you can slow down the time. You do not really slow down the time. What you do is that you speed up your mindfulness. Through faster mindfulness, you can see the time a little better, as if it was slower, but in fact, it's you who's faster. And as your mindfulness is faster, you can penetrate to the nature of the reality. How does the reality really work? And therefore, you see that reality, that the mind and the body are made up of arising, passing moments. More importantly, you see the mind as arising, passing moments. You see that there is a moment of seeing that arises and is gone. Nobody can take it back. Another moment of seeing arises and is gone. Nobody can take it back. Another moment of seeing arises and is gone. Nobody can take it back. And these moments arise and pass very, very fast, one after another in a succession. And then from seeing, it changes to hearing, then seeing, smelling, then seeing, then thinking, and so on. You can see how these senses that dictate your life, that order you everything that you ever decide, that you ever know, that you ever think, how they are made up of these arising, passing moments. So even these dictators, even these rulers, they themselves do not really exist. They themselves do not really are. They are not. In fact, they are just these moments that are conditioned by some other things as well. So we cannot really even say that there would be a dictator who's dictating us. Even that dictator is not really present. It's just moments that arise and pass. And through understanding of the fact that even the dictator is not there, that there is really nothing that could be hated, nothing that could be loved, nothing that's worthy of attachment, nothing that needs to be detached from, you see that it makes no sense. You see that there is nothing satisfactory, nothing that is worthy of hankering after. And as you see that there is nothing that's worthy of hankering after, that means nothing satisfactory, you also realize that there is nobody who would be hankering after anything. Because you see that, not only that, there is no dictator who would dictate, because it's just the arising, passing moments, but there is, of course, also no victim who would be dictated, because all of these things that you do are just the effects of these causes, of these seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and even those effects, even that mind that is the effect of those six senses, is also made up of these arising, passing moments. So thus you can see impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and not self on the ultimate level. Seeing impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self in the conceptual and in the ultimate level is the famous way of practicing. It is known as vipassana. There is yet another way of meditating, which is not famous. It is called sammasana. Sammasana means considering. In sammasana, you do not really meditate in the sense that you would concentrate your mind on one object, which we call samatha, or that you would observe body and the mind in the present moment, which we call vipassana. Sammasana is a third kind of meditation practice which was introduced by the Buddha and which we have mentioned in our scriptures. But it is not famous, and you maybe have never heard it from me as well. Sammasana means considering impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self. It means considering the Four Noble Truths. You can see sammasana practice, for example, at the end of Satipatthana Sutta as the last practice of Dhammanupassana, where the Buddha encourages us to consider the Four Noble Truths. So how do you practice sammasana? Again, sammasana, be careful, it is not suitable to say that it is meditation, because it is not in the present moment. It is just thinking. But it's helpful. It is helpful if you think, then think about Four Noble Truths. If you think about impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self. In sammasana, you consider the past, you consider the present, you consider the future. You see, it's different from what the Buddha instructed for meditation, that you should be in the present moment, that you should let go of the past and not hanker after the future. But still, there are times when you want to think, and it's okay to think, and it's very good to think about the Four Noble Truths, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self. And here, in particular, we are talking about thinking about the dependent origination. Dependent origination is yet another topic that we did not discuss much. We did read together the book from Venerable Nandamala Vivangsa, where he combines dependent origination and patthana, maybe 2 years ago, or maybe 1.5 years ago, in a book course. There we were discussing the different members of the dependent origination. It consists of 12 members. And in sammasana, you consider the root of all problems. It is ignorance. It is not understanding the Four Noble Truths. You consider, you think about how this not understanding of the Four Noble Truths causes intentions that are based on not understanding of the Four Noble Truths. And these intentions are intentions that are skillful, intentions that are unskillful. Because of these intentions that are skillful, unskillful, based on not understanding Four Noble Truths, you were born into this life. So you see, you're thinking about the past life. You're thinking about the past. And as you're thinking about the past, you see, so because I was born, I will die. It is the birth that is the reason for death. If there is no birth, there is no old age, illness, or death. If there is no birth, there is no suffering. This is yet again sammasana practice. It is neither samatha nor vipassana. And as you consider, so I am born because of my ignorance of the Four Noble Truths, because of my intentions that were based on the ignorance of the Four Noble Truths. Now, this life, when I was conceived in the mother's womb, first started consciousness. Because of consciousness, there arose body and mind. Because of body and mind, there arose the six senses. These six senses that dictate my life, these six senses that are the cause of all and everything that I know, that I think, that I want, that I like, that I don't like. All of these six senses are dictating everything that I call me. And this victim of these six senses is also the consciousness, is also the six senses. And thus the dictator and the victim, they exist, they do not exist, they suffer. They suffer, they are conditioned, and as they exist, as they do not exist, because the ignorance that is still there arises contact. And through that contact, there is pleasant, unpleasant feeling. Well, that's what the dictators and what the dictator and the victim do. That's still fine. But because of the ignorance, what really happens is that due to the contact, there arises craving. If there was not the ignorance, there would not arise the craving. It is the ignorance that is the problem behind the craving, not the pleasant or unpleasant feeling that results in the craving. So because of pleasant feeling, there is craving to have it. Because of unpleasant feeling, there is craving to have the pleasant feeling instead. So after that craving, there arises clinging. So there is attachment. Oh, this is pleasant. I need to have it. I need to be with that. I need to be that. For example, I need to be the beautiful body, or I need to be the clever mind, or I need to be the person who has a degree, or I need to be the person who is popular, or I need to be the mother, or I need to be the father. So that's where you get the clinging. And then based on that clinging, there arise yet other skillful, unskillful actions. Again, all of that is based on the ignorance. And as we are all doing these skillful, unskillful actions based on the ignorance, on not understanding the Four Noble Truths, what's coming is death. Death and birth. And after that death, next life, there's yet coming again birth, old age, illness, lamentation, despair, pain, and troubles. So this is how you can consider impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self. This is how you can consider dependent origination.